Week 8 is a scorcher, and yeah, we're marching towards the fantasy playoffs. You need to know who to start and who to bench. Maybe some what the heck flexes. We got all that and more. Part 1 of the Week 8 preview. Thursday night football, Minnesota and the LA Rams. Rams are a little more intriguing,
Mm,
Sigmund. So let's
mhm.
talk about the Minnesota side as they look to kind of, lick their wounds and keep going up against the Rams this time on Thursday night in LA. What do you expect from the Vikings?
Yeah, Minnesota lost a game to a good team, a good back and forth game, and they're really everything's on track for them. The main story for fantasy is, does TJ Hawkinson return? If he's back, I think you go ahead and put him in your lineup. If not, that makes Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor a little better what the heck flexes. No buys this week, so you might not need to dig as deep for your what the heck flex. Aaron Jones still looking good. Sam Darnold still looking good. But about that Sam Darnold, it should be a good offensive night for the Rams. But about Sam Darnold, just one of those crazy rumors, and I hate to even give these rumors credence. The Vikings are trying to get Matthew Stafford. I'm not saying I don't think that's true. I don't know if Stafford would be an upgrade from Darnold in the middle of the season. Maybe he would be. But I do think the Rams, because now we know the Cooper Kupp thing, that's on. Cooper Kupp is going to get traded. We wake up this morning to DeAndre Hopkins getting traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Rams do have clarity. We see them trading away their draft picks. We see them making the push when they know they're in a Super Bowl window. So never say never about this team. We may not even see Cooper Kupp in this game because he's on his way somewhere else.
Yeah, don't get him hurt. And Puka Nakua's 21-day window is open. What's your feeling
Yeah.
on when we could see him? I'm not necessarily saying Thursday night. Again, we're recording Wednesday morning, full disclosure. So we got to wait for the injury reports. A lot of stuff to go down, Bloom.
Right.
But the
Right.
window is open for Puka.
Yeah. And I think week 9, the original projections were around week 7 for Cup. We're at week 8, week 9 for Puka. Let's say week 10. For fantasy, if Cup is gone, and it sure seems like he's going to be, that Nakua is going to get a lot of targets. And the team kind of is waving the white flag, not necessarily on competitiveness, but for their chance to make the playoffs this year. No white flag in Kyron Williams' game. We'll see if he continues to hold up under this workload. Blake Corum waiting in the wings. I guess if there's lots of ifs, right? If Cup's playing, then you're not really playing anybody from this passing game. If Cup isn't playing, Jordan Whittington, who, by the way, when Cup gets traded, there's your new Cup in this offense. Maybe Tutu Atwell. The Vikings defense is pretty tough. So is Matthew Stafford. So we'll watch some toughness, but also a chance to watch those Vikings up close and personal. Not so silly to think of them as a Super Bowl contender now.
No, not at all whatsoever. What to think of Philadelphia? Hell, what to think of Cincinnati? Up next in part 1 of the Week 8 preview, it's Eagles side first, and I guess it can be all Saquon all the time.
Yeah.
Sure. What else can it be? And on the road against Cincinnati, it could be much more.
Yeah, Saquon, AJ Brown, who is very, very good, and Jalen Hurts, who was able throwing 14 passes to still have a good fantasy game last week, scoring 2 touchdowns on the tush push. And maybe Devontae Smith. You like Devontae Smith more if you think Joe Burrow and the Bengals will make this a back and forth game and a game where the Eagles have to throw a lot more than 14 times. And like you said, it's Saquon Barkley. They're still going to make him the foundation of the offense. That's why you're going to bet the under whatever the pass attempts number is. But like you said, what do you think of this Philly team? Do they have a signature win yet? Are they a good team? Have they beaten any teams other than bad teams? It's hard to say. You can say the same thing about Cincinnati, but unlike Philadelphia, I think Cincinnati has a much easier bracket to make it into the playoffs as a 6 or 7 seed.
Yeah, and let's see what Cincinnati can do in terms of, well, T. Higgins doing his thing, Jamar Chase doing his thing, and then the backfield, which I don't know. Every report seems to be different. Like, we're gonna more Chase Brown, okay, but then Zach Moss does a little something, but next to nothing. But I don't know. Like, fantasy GMs are confounded by that one, Bloom.
Yeah, what's not confounding here is obviously Chase and Higgins are in your lineup. And I saw a sentiment going around. They have to do whatever they can to keep T. Higgins. I think it was Josh Norris, who I love. Um, Sell the team. I don't know. I asked Joe Goodberry, why is this team so stuck in the past? They voted no on something. They were the one team to vote no on private equity, on selling 10% of the team to private equity, because then that would give them cash flow, right? To keep
Mm-hmm.
someone like T. Higgins. They were the one team that voted no. I asked Joe Goodberry about it. He said, well, that's just kind of their culture. Like they're contrarian. They want to be on the record voting no. Sees like the little Victorian house with skyscrapers around it because they wouldn't sell. that's the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL. But for now, we have one more Super Bowl year with Higgins and Chase. And then there's the backfield. And Burrow's probably a good play this week. And then there's the backfield. It's close to a 50-50 split in terms of snaps, but Chase Brown's getting a lot more touches. Now, last week, that was against a tough Cleveland run defense. Philly's run defense isn't exactly a pushover. So maybe Chase Brown gets into your running back to what the heck flex zone here. But for Cincinnati and Philadelphia, winning this game would go a long way towards showing some sort of credibility as a potential Super Bowl contender.
All right, Baltimore and Cleveland is our next game to preview. And the Baltimore side is anybody? It's definitely Mark Andrews now, Bloom. Like, he's back, and fantasy GMs are certainly happy about that in a big, big way. A dash of Justice Hill. The pictures of Derrick Henry when he hits top speed are fantastic because it's this look of joy.
Yeah.
I would just want to be as happy as Derrick Henry ripping off an 80-yarder, right? And Lamar Jackson, super developed as a passer. Shocking. Matt Waldman gave us all clues to this.
Yeah.
Years ago, several years ago. So Baltimore, keep it up against Cleveland. Should be able to do that.
Yeah, let's take a moment to appreciate and enjoy, but let's also say this is one of those cases where there's justice in fantasy football. If you believed in this Ravens offense, if you believed in Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson, you believed in Derrick Henry, you believed in this organization, you're getting rewarded. Now, for this week's outlook, Zay Flowers had an ankle, played through it. Let's watch practice reports. Probably a better Bateman week than a Zay Flowers week. And by the way, Rashad Bateman showing, he was a first-round pick. How excellent. The Ravens had a fifth-year option on Bateman. Didn't want to exercise the option and pay him at that level. And I think they signed him to like 2 more years at $13 million total. Wow. Because Rashad Bateman playing like this is going to get $15 million a year on the open market, more than he would have gotten on his fifth-year option. So now it's Bateman, it's Andrews, as you said, it's Derrick Henry. And let's all just, again, let's enjoy this. You're watching a Hall of Famer. You're not just watching a Hall of Famer, you're watching an archetype. You're watching a player that is truly one of one in NFL history. Again, his nickname was Shaka because I think his parents were very young, and it was shocking that he came into this world. He continues to shock everybody and reward fantasy players. And Lamar Jackson, we can put to bed, he's a passer, he's a runner, he's a leader, he's a winner. It's that one last win we're waiting for.
Yeah.
We almost wish they would play the Super Bowl next week, the way this team is playing. But the best pick in fantasy leagues at quarterback, Cleveland's going to try to put up a fight, but they at least have a quarterback who can put up some fight.
Yes, I'm going to toss the rock. That's Jameis Winston out there now, and Nick Chubb gets more involved in things. We'll be watching to see how Jameis utilizes the weapons out there.
Right.
And if Cleveland's defense can do anything to slow down Baltimore, how does that impact the numbers we could see from a Jameis Winston-led offense?
Ravens' run defense is good, but the Browns are going to say, I see your Derrick Henry, and I raise you Nick Chubb. I mean, Nick Chubb still knocking off the rust, etc. But another one that it's a joy to watch a player like Nick Chubb in any era of the NFL. He would fit in any era of the NFL. He's a flex play, although lower expectations here. David Njoku, there's your pass offense for this team. He may be the number one fantasy tight end from here on out. And Cedric Tillman, all of a sudden, not Elijah Moore, not Jerry Jeudy, much more ballyhooed players. It's Cedric Tillman dominating targets, so maybe he's the what the heck flex from the wide receivers. And we'll see if not having Deshaun Watson out there just lifts the spirits of this team, just changes how this team plays like Joe Flacco did last year.
Yeah, it can happen. It can happen for you. It's Tennessee waving the white flag, right? And so much so, not only trading DeAndre Hopkins this morning to the Kansas City Chiefs for a conditional 4th-round pick, but also saying yesterday, Will Levis to remain the starter. Okay. Why? It's Titans and Lions. Let's be pretty brief here with the Tennessee side.
Yeah, I think that Brian Callahan, I said he talked to Amy Adams and said, explain the plan with Will Levis. It's like, the more we lose is the better chance we get to get a quarterback, and Will Levis is going to give us a better chance. So is that the explanation? Now that Stephen Ross and all that stuff with the tampering let all this out of the bag, that yes, these conversations happen. Antonio Pierce saying, no, we're not tanking. When you have to say, no, we're not tanking. Okay, well, this is the NFL. The fire sale's on. It doesn't matter who the quarterback it is. I guess Calvin Ridley's a what the heck flex. More targets, not like DeAndre Hopkins was getting a ton of targets. Tony Pollard, I guess, because maybe he can catch 5, 6, 7 balls in garbage time. This one feels like a televised execution against, yes, the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, and if Traylon Burks was ever healthy, he's not healthy.
No.
You'd be like, oh, more opportunity. Oh, wait a second, he's hurt. Of
Yeah.
course he's hurt. Of course the Lions are rolling now. David Montgomery a little bit banged up. Let's put a pin in this one, right?
Yeah.
Watch Jahmyr Gibbs do his thing. Watch Khalif Raymond. Forgive me, I can't remember the defensive back, but Khalif just like set this guy down with like one move. Yes. Jameis Williams now suspended. So we'll bring that up in this discussion. Maybe more Sam Laporta. Fantasy GMs would like that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you recognize Raymond. And look, this Ben Johnson. And by the way, Ben Johnson not taking those coaching jobs looks really smart. Looks really smart. He's making a lot of money every time he comes back to the Lions and shows, oh, can we get better? We can get better. Jared Goff making that money. No one's questioning that contract. Still not a high ceiling for fantasy, but a high floor. Jahmyr Gibbs looks like he's ready to take off. Wow. Did he look explosive on that turf? And Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, in the first half, he could easily get well over 100 total yards and a touchdown or two. Dave Montgomery, like you said, let's watch the practice reports, play through the knee injury. It's probably going to be more of a Gibbs week than a Montgomery week. Probably should be an Amon-Ra St. Brown week. Now, last week, this pass offense, even though, again, Jared Goff, flawless, basically, only supported one play. It was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams, now we've had a gambling suspension. Now we have a PED suspension. Only 2 games. Tim Patrick, who we've talked about. Underrated guys, both guys you've covered, Cease. Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond, what the heck flexes for sure. Just takes one pass against this Tennessee. By the way, we saw Tennessee last week. Oh, Josh Allen and Mary Cooper, the passing game. Maybe it's just Tennessee. So if Josh Allen did that, what's Jared Goff, Ben Johnson, and company going to do? You want to get a piece of that, even Sam Laporta, in your fantasy lineup.
More touchdowns than incompletions over the last 4 games.
Yeah. And see, I want to say again, one of the things as I get older really hits home. But wow, do we adapt and get used to stuff real fast? The Lions are an elite NFL team, one of the class of the NFL.
Yep.
We're used to that now. That makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, 4 games down, 4 games to go. It's part 1 of the Week 8 preview, and it's Arizona, it's Miami. We don't do recaps, especially with 2 stupid Monday night games. Oh God, that one. Hey, Chargers. All right, let's talk about the Cardinals, though. Greg Dortch truthers are like, he had 1 catch. It was a touchdown. So okay, congrats.
Right.
Marvin Harrison Jr. not doing much. Trey McBride getting targeted. He's okay, I guess. It comes back to Kyler Murray. It comes back to the ground game. Of course, James Conner's who they'll lean on this time against Miami with their own issues. Let's talk about the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I want to lead with this. I forget who it was that put it out there. Is James Conner the greatest running back in Cardinals history? I think he is.
I mean, I would go back to like what Otis Anderson,
Maybe
like
Otis Anderson if we were to go way
Garrison
back.
Hurst. Garrison
He had his
Hurst was
moments.
damn
David
good.
Johnson. David Johnson at
Sure.
his peak maybe is better than Conner at his peak. But Conner
Yes.
won that game. That game was James Conner. I mean, that was how the Cardinals won that game. Was James Conner.
Yeah.
And we talk about the Steelers miscues a lot because we're neurotic Steelers fans. I mean, imagine if it's that first round pick and Najee Harris could have been, I don't know, Trent McDuffie or whatever. And it's still James Conner, the feel good story, making everybody feel good. And he's just showing us the ceiling is there no matter what the matchup is. He belongs in your lineup. Kyler Murray, well, if he gets a 40-plus yard rushing touchdown, you're going to be glad you played him. That could happen in any given week. But if not, it's going to be anemic passing yards, including to Marvin Harrison Jr. And the Cardinals are saying, well, he was double covered on that Dortch touchdown, so mission accomplished. Fantasy players not feeling that way. But going against Miami, I wonder if Marvin Harrison Jr. is at that point where you want him to go off on your bench before you trust him again. Because at least you feel like, well, know he can go off. He had 1 good quarter against the Rams. Trey McBride, a good play. Is Trey McBride the new Jason Witten, Cease? Catch 90, 100 balls and get like 3 touchdowns. That's what it looks like with this passing game. And Arizona has a little bit of life coming off the deck. But again, when you look at these mediocre teams, it's a lot better to be in the AFC this year. And Miami might want to say, well, we're not mediocre because we got our quarterback back.
We got the quarterback back in Tua Tagovailoa now. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, fantasy GMs rejoice. Not only that, but without Tua, seeing Jonnu Smith come through, Does
Yeah.
that continue with Tua? And of course, the backfield split, which we always talk about, and a bunch of speed and three backs and can do everything.
Yeah.
Like, all right, Miami, Tua not wearing a guardian cap. I mean,
Eh,
it's his choice.
yeah.
I don't ever want to see him get concussed again.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. And that's a thorny, multi-layered topic, right?
Hmm.
Because I don't think the science is that conclusive on the guardian cap helping you avoid concussions.
Right.
I think it's the subconcussive hits that build up, which also are more of the CTE picture.
Hmm.
Also, it does change your equilibrium and the aerodynamics and the balance. And
Oh
also,
yeah.
it's a psychological thing. Like if you can feel that something's different, I mean, I understand. Look, no one should question this young man's choices. It's his life, and he can do with it what he pleases. But boy, it feels like he's more of a character in other people's stories than the main character of his own story.
Mm.
And that's why you want to see him get his glory. That's why you want to see him have the moments again that really show what a great quarterback he is. And who knows that? People that have Tyreek Hill, people that have Jalen Waddle, even Devin Achan, you're so much more excited to play them with Tua out there. And Johnny Smith won't have as many targets with Tua out there, but they can be higher value targets because, again, the deep speed, clearing out the middle of the field, the running game is looking good. And that's, if you're talking about some sort of special second half run for Miami, they did get the running game in order while Tua was out. If the passing game is in order, then this could be a really fun offense again.
Fun offense, and then the Jets and Patriots.
Aaron Rodgers is the main character in his story, but it's a tough
Uh,
watch.
yeah, I don't need to see him on Pat McAfee. Honestly, I don't really watch
A
Pat
million, a
McAfee.
million a week though. That's like
Yeah,
that's like some thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a word.
sure. Awesome. Go for it. I won't be watching. Jets go. I mean, Brees Hall,
Right,
100 yards
right,
receiving. I still believe Brees Hall is better as a runner than he's shown this year. He hasn't shown much. Of course, the Jets haven't shown much. And who the hell's even going to be there if we think, can they get rid of Mike Williams? Are they going to get rid of Garrett
right,
Wilson? Right?
right.
Like, so there's some questions here. And his best friend, Devontae Adams, hopefully has more than just a tackle. Hope you got fantasy points for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Mike Williams go to the Steelers, but he fits well with Russell Wilson. Who fits well with Aaron Rodgers? Not Devontae Adams last week, not for fantasy, but still, he's a wide receiver 3 flex. Garrett Wilson, a wide receiver 3 flex, with Alazard snaps down a little bit, more of a what the heck flex. But all of them you want to break ties in favor of because it is the Patriots. Okay, it is the Patriots. We'll talk a little more about that, but Belichick, he's frisky. Cease, we say it in the show, stay classy. How about get classy, Bill Belichick, taking some shots at maybe meddling a little bit? I don't know.
He's meddling because he'll be back in the league, and then he can be like, "Come on over, guys."
Yeah, yeah,
He's totally
probably.
meddling.
He's
Mhm,
totally meddling. You can
mhm.
feel it, and I just like, yeah, I know, not a good look, really. I mean, not the look of somebody who's got that satisfaction of security in themselves. But anyway, I digress. The Patriots defense is not good right now, mostly because of players that are hurt, not because Bill Belichick's gone. And then Brees Hall, now the constant, Braylon Allen, just a backup, Tyler Conklin. The main thing here is the Jets offense has to look better, right? Woody wants results against the Patriots. They have to look better. If they don't look better against the Patriots, then this turns from a tragedy into a comedy.
Yeah, and who's gonna be even out there for the Patriots when you had Jalen Polk limited by a head injury, Demario Douglas slowed by an illness, now he should be better again, recording Wednesday morning. Kendrick Bourne didn't do anything, KJ Osborne, I mean, you're not gonna trust these guys. We're still watching Drake May, and we're trusting Hunter Henry with Drake May out there. Other than that, it's like littering and
Yeah.
Patriots and
Right, right. The Patriots would be sellers at the trade deadline if there were any players that the other teams might want, right?
right,
You know,
right.
Drake May is, he's getting the game scripts you want. You saw the Jets' pass defense kind of break down in the second half against the Steelers last week. So Drake May is even in one quarterback league's consideration, potential savior in two quarterback leagues. Hunter Henry, 2 good weeks in a row. Yeah, you're going to go for 3 in a row here. Darnell Washington, Pat Fryermuth combined for pretty good numbers last week. Demario Douglas, I'm still open to maybe on your bench instead of in as a flex this week, but I think it was the illness. And then we may look and see that that's the connection. They were getting better and closer on the same page, May and Douglas, as the game went on in week 6. We'll see if they can pick up in week 8. And then it's Ramondre Stevenson. And by the way, Antonio Gibson can't even be the backup now. JaMychal Hasty getting in ahead of him. So there's someone you can shut down if you still got him. Shutting down the Patriots, trying to make that run for the number 1 pick.
Okay, Atlanta and Tampa Bay is up next, and the Atlanta side of things is pretty exciting with all those fantasy assets. Tampa Bay be a little pissed off at home this time. Still can't believe they beat the Lions, but and Tampa Bay just makes me sad. We'll get to the sadness on the Tampa Bay side in just a little bit, but let's talk about Atlanta. We'll be fired up, and of course, this matchup we've seen before.
Yeah, wide open NFC South. Wide open.
Yep.
Atlanta. When I say wide open, between Atlanta and Tampa. I shouldn't say wide open. 2-team race. Either team could take it. Sorry.
Right,
Let me
right.
put that one on the editing floor, Cease. Do we still cut
Zip.
tape? Zip, zip, zip.
I used to when I'd cuss on this show,
Right.
and then I'd go back and have to edit it. Now
Right.
you get it in the raw.
Right. Put it in the folder, in the collection. We're now to the point we're going to see some rematches this week. Some divisional rematches. This game was actually just a few weeks ago, 36-30. Kirk Cousins 500 yards passing plus, and they're back, everybody. So, and Tampa Bay's pass defense will do that, and we expect them to do it again. So, London, Pitts, even Darnell Mooney, you're going to err on the side of playing him. Bijan Robinson looking great. The question is, how much of a fight can Tampa put up? Because if they put up a good fight, then maybe not Algier. But if Atlanta's up big, then maybe Algier, and certainly Cousins after what he did. And like you said, Cease, with Tampa, you're feeling bad, but at the same time, you want to see how this team responds because it's football. It's still emotion. It's still a human game. And if there's actually a quarterback that I think can say, no, it doesn't matter, Baker's on that list.
It's Baker, but it's pretty one to it's just a huge one to shake off, man.
Yeah.
We love Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
We love him, love him, love him, love him. And he might have played his last snap for the team, and hopefully he can get healthy and be back to being the best slot receiver in this league. Obviously, we'll be watching Jalen McMillan, right?
Right.
And others, a cast of thousands.
Yeah.
We'll continue to see a backfield split 3 ways, which they told us it was going to be split 3 ways. And it was split 3 ways. I'll see how they emotionally respond, but I don't think this will be as close as the last game was. I think Atlanta, it could be an Algier closer game. He's the perfect closer. He's so perfect. And I just feel bad for Tampa.
Yeah, you do because of the misfortune. Although some might say Mike Evans maybe shouldn't have played. Chris Godwin shouldn't have been out there. We'll see if that ripples through and the league starts to say garbage time points in danger. But still, Baker Mayfield, more of a borderline quarterback one than the solid, like elite basic quarterback one he was with Evans and Godwin. The passing production is going to be there. The question is who. It was Cade Otton in garbage time. So unless you have obvious better option at tight end, he's in for you. I would say the pecking order at wide receiver is going to be Jalen McMillan because he's the one who was playing the slot before. He's the one who has some experience in this offense in the slot. And then Trey Palmer, because it only takes one. He's got the deep speed, only takes one deep. This could be a shootout, just like the first one, the first matchup. And then Sterling Shepard, but it's pretty tight. See, like what Juju Smith-Schuster did for Patrick Mahomes, Sterling Shepard can do that for Baker Mayfield, no doubt. I mean, it looks like physically he's up to it. He has the skills. It's his game, really, going all back to Oklahoma, speaking of Oklahoma connections. And then there's the backfield. Rachaad White, maybe he's the answer. He was in the second half with the 2 receiving touchdowns. Bucky Irving still what the heck flex. Sean Tucker's still good. Hold him in dynasty leagues in redraft. It's a little tough if there aren't injuries that open the door for him. And yeah, Tampa want to kick down the door that has been closed in their face with these injuries.
Final game we're going to talk about, part 1 of the Week 8 preview. It's Green Bay Packers. It's Jacksonville Jaguars. It's actually in Jacksonville, right? It's not in London. Please tell me, for the love of God. Okay, all right. And then you look at Green Bay. Hey, Jordan, you dropped something. Oh, yeah, that's receiving talent. It's falling out of my pockets. Like, my God, how do you choose between Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, and Josh Jacobs going to do his thing as a runner and as a receiver. Like, lots of weapons to choose from. Dare I leave out your boy Tucker Kraft getting it done for the Packers? So, yeah, bunch of weapons, weak team. I don't care if it's on the road. Packers should roll.
Yeah, fun team, fun division. Again, every single NFC North matchup is going to be must-see TV. This is not an NFC North matchup. This is one where you see a good NFC North team against a bad team. Jordan Love, a strong play. Romeo Dobbs, the high floor play, and Jaden Reed, the high ceiling play. Don't bench Jaden Reed. He might have 3 receptions for 3 touchdowns in this game. Okay. Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson kind of splitting the deep role. But again, in this game, both of them could catch long touchdowns because that's the mentality Jordan Love is allowed to play with. So they're both at least what the heck flexes. Tucker Kraft just showing you the skill. He's a bruiser. He's got all the physicality you want for tight end, but he's got skill and athletic talent. He's going to be a star if he can just stay healthy. And Josh Jacobs getting that receiving touchdown. Maybe this is a game where Jacobs gets 3 or 4 touchdowns. This is a game where it's probably just an extended practice for this Green Bay offense against a Jacksonville team that only looks good against really bad teams.
Jacksonville team, Travis Etienne still going to be the starter, but Tank Bigsby, they're doing much, much more. Maybe not as much for Christian Kirk. And again, who's going to be traded away from this team? So we have to look at that. Like, okay, are they hanging on to Evan Ingram? I mean, they should, I guess, but will that happen? We know they'll hold on to Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is so flipping good. He's so good. So yeah, some interesting names. Watch the Bigsby ETN thing and see who's left over with Jacksonville with the trade deadline looming.
Yeah, exactly. Trevor Lawrence, quarterback 2, super flex play, but Green Bay's defense is pretty good when they're facing subpar offenses, and this one has been in most of the games. If it's ETN, then I don't know if you're going to play anybody. If it's not ETN, then maybe Dearness Johnson, the passing down back, who was pretty productive on his touches last week because you expect more of the passing game than the running game with Tank Bigsby. Brian Thomas Jr., no one's going to ask whether to play him. And then otherwise, Evan Ingram, you're going to play him because tight end, the bar is low, depending on who else you have. But if someone said Tucker Kraft or Evan Ingram, I'd rather play the upside of Kraft than take the floor of Ingram. You may differ. And Christian Kirk, you just hope he gets traded. And this is the wide receiver trade deadline, not just the trade deadline. So he's absolutely a player. Cooper Kupp, Christian Kirk. In fact, could be for teams that don't want to pay a second round pick for Kupp. Maybe Kirk is a reasonable alternative, but you better find an alternative if you wanted to start him in this offense.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's a wrap for part 1 of the Week 8 preview here on the Audible. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter, X, at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammey. The show is at the Audible. So everyone, thanks. We'll be back tomorrow with more. He's Sig. I'm Cecil. We are the Audible. Watch the other videos. Stay tuned. And as always, stay frosty.